The leaks for chapter 328 might be the most anticipated yet, as we get a small insight into Ego's past as a football player. Not to mention that, but the story is starting to get wild now, so not to waste any time, let's get right into it. Alright, so the chapter starts off with the text saying, after the first match was finished, Isagi, having been called in, now faces Ego. What is the Ego's true intention? We then spot Ego and Isagi waiting for some sort of elevator, and Isagi looks over at Ego and asks him what it is and what he wants to talk about. Ego is just silent for a bit, trying to aura farm, before they then enter the elevator, and he finally starts talking, as he says that at the end of the game, that last play, what was Isagi's intention? Isagi thinks back to his awesome and outstanding goal, and says that he just aimed for his own goal. As an egoist, he simply did what was natural. After that, Isagi gets into his own head and starts to wonder if Ego is actually angry at him. But just then, Ego does his signature move by putting up his glasses and says that he is right, saying that with the win already guaranteed by an overwhelming lead, it was a good moment to test out an idea and a new way of thinking. However, that's not where it ends, as he says that if that gamble play keeps continuing, it will create confusion even for teammates who aren't able to respond to it, which will lead to Blue Lock's formation and tactics will start to collapse. Ego then looks extremely determined as he says that the method is only a sub-weapon, which basically means a secondary tactic to use when he has room to spare, telling Isagi not to make a way of winning that has no reproducibility on his main axis. Isagi then starts to look slightly worried as he looks at Ego and then apologizes and says that he is pretty sure that he understands, but after that, he calls out for Ego again. Isagi says that beating Noah, he feels like he is close to finding the theory where he himself, Isagi, becomes the best in the world. By the way, I just have to mention that while they are talking, they have gone out to this massive rooftop and this panel is just so insanely dope. Anyway, Ego looks back at Isagi in pure awe as he can't believe what he said. But that's when Isagi starts to flare up and his aura becomes insane as he says that it's why Ego's soccer alone is no longer enough for him. Right after that, however, Isagi also gets overwhelmed by the rooftop as he looks around and says that it's huge and that the view is insane. Asking Ego if he usually comes out here, Ego tells him not to get the wrong idea, as this is only for emergency use. Isagi doesn't really understand what he is talking about and decides to leave the conversation, and he then gets to another topic as he asks Ego about that super play highlight video that Ego had sent him, but more importantly, about the Japan versus Nigeria one. Ego says that if he is going to go that far, then let him hear the theory that surpasses his now. I'm a bit confused if this is supposed to be here, as it feels like it matches another panel better, but anyway, I might just be slow. Isagi continues and says that when he watched that, he realized something, and because of that, it definitely expanded his image. But now that he truly has felt that pain, this is exactly why he can face it head on. By the way, as he is saying that, we see silhouettes of Loki, Lorenzo, and Kaiser. Isagi then continues and says that now he can clearly see what he is lacking, explaining that beating Noah with just physical ability, even if he were reborn a million times, would be 100% impossible. And then there is Loki, Lorenzo, and even Kaiser. In a single match or even a single play, he might win sometimes, but if he looks at it objectively, he does not think he is winning at all in pure individual ability. Isagi, however, doesn't stop there, as we know that our boy loves to yap, and he says that humans have two types of people. There are talented learners and geniuses. Ego is just looking at him silently, praying that he will keep his mouth shut soon. But anyway, Isagi says that they are not in a simple hierarchy where one is always superior to the other. They clash, stimulate each other, and grow through direct competition. And through that process, an infinite chain of level-ups is created. Someday, you will become strong enough to reach the very top of the world. After that, he thinks back to the final play in the PXG versus Bastard Munchen game, and says that back then, it felt like football itself was something divine, like it was guided by a god, and from there, the age of the Neo-Egoist League began. So that is the reason for the Neo-Egoist League, right? Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you are already down there, why not leave a like as well? We then cut to Ego, who says that you could say that yes. But you guessed it, as Isagi has more to say, and he says that it's exactly why. Not just Rin or Bachira, no. Compared to all the geniuses here in Blue Lock, he has to keep being the ultimate talent that makes them feel like they have to surpass him. He looks super ecstatic as he tells Ego to please give him more and to give him a new kind of soccer. And this panel is so wholesome as Isagi has the biggest smile I have ever seen. Anyway, he continues and tells Ego that he is going to prove that he can become the best in the world. After that, we cut back to Ego, and we get this super cool panel with Ego looking awesome, and he calls out for Isagi and asks him if he thinks that a god of football actually exists. Isagi looks super shocked at first, and he then asks Ego if he means like Zico or Maradona, the goats of soccer. Ego says that he doesn't mean it like that, as he is talking about something much more unscientific and something invisible. Isagi looks towards Ego and says that he really doesn't get what Ego is talking about. He continues and says that he didn't expect that the logical Ego would be talking about mystical stuff like that. Ego looks back at Isagi and tells him that it's the result of perfecting one's thoughts and effort, where your body and mind totally sync up, luck, the environment, and everything just goes exactly how you want it, and it feels like something beyond your control is guiding your destiny, saying that it's a godlike experience of total omnipotence. After that, we get an insane panel where we see past Ego running with the ball, and he has a super cool, I don't even know what it is, but it's like a wild monster behind him. After that, we see the real-time Ego saying that back when he was an active player, he actually encountered it. 7 minutes was the only time, never before or since, but back then, he had to think some invisible force was at work to make sense of the inexplicable performance he pulled off. Isagi then speaks up and asks if this is different from flow or the luck equation. Ego looks at him and says that those are just things he derived from that experience in order to learn and reproduce it. After that, he looks straight at our boy Isagi and asks Isagi to answer him. He asks Isagi if he thinks that a god of football exists. We then move to Isagi, who looks very determined as he says that if that invisible power was thanks to God, then maybe he exists. Ever since coming to Blue Lock, the fact that he first met Bachira, and in the U20 Japan match, at the very end, the ball fell down to where it was, all of those things. Ego, however, then cuts him off as he says that God won't help him anymore. That's why he decided to quit football in the first place. After that, he realizes that he has talked way too much and says that their discussion ended a while ago and tells Isagi to get out of here. However, as Ego is beginning to walk away, Isagi then asks him to wait up. He asks Ego to please watch him, explaining that he will go meet the god of football himself, and this is just straight heat, as both Isagi and Ego look so insanely cold. Isagi continues and says that this is the Isagi that Ego created, and he is going to make Ego's dream come true. Ego looks down and just says, yeah, as he thinks to himself, asking Isagi to try and surpass him. After that, the ending text says, the determination to become the best in the world is now unleashed. This is just absolutely crazy, but anyway, the next chapter will be called Don't Give Up, which I really have no idea what that could mean, but please let me know down in the comments if you have any guesses. But with that said, I actually do have some really sad news, and that is that there will be a break week next week, which, yeah, is super sad. But after a chapter like this one, I really can't complain. Anyway, I have been up for a long time, so my brain isn't at full capacity, but let's try and recap this and talk about it. Firstly, it's so cool to finally have some sort of Ego flashback explained, but it's pretty much what we had already guessed, which is that Ego was a player himself, and yeah, we didn't really get more than that, but he did explain why he quit, which as he said was because God wouldn't help him anymore. You know, those 7 minutes that he talked about earlier, he never felt like that ever again. And then I guess that he got bored of soccer. Now with that said, I speculate that there is something more that he isn't telling us right now, and I think that the God thing for sure plays a part in everything, but I doubt that it was the singular reason for him quitting soccer. But that's what he said now, at least. Also in the flashback panel where we saw Ego when he was younger, he really did look a lot like Isagi, which is just sick, and this story is starting to get so insanely good, because it's really that Isagi will try and surpass Ego now. Isagi will show Ego that he can call out God and play with it for more than what Ego could, and when Ego thought to himself, telling Isagi to try and surpass him, that just added a whole new fuel into the mix as it gets me super excited. Like, honestly this chapter, while it was a lot of text, it was super good. Also the chapters which has a lot of text are actually usually the best ones, so I guess that it was a good thing. Anyway, if I keep going, I doubt that I will say anything useful as my brain is super fried, but please let me know what you thought about this chapter down in the comments. I thought that it was amazing. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.